Well, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the networking and thought that was useful. I love the remote functionality for what it can do. The part Zoom webinar, part Zoom meeting, and the ability for people to be able to move from table to table feels like such a more natural networking opportunity. It is a little disorienting the first time you come in for the first couple minutes, but everyone gets the hang of it pretty quick. And I know technologically it's just much glitchier than Zoom is, but they're working really hard to get it more stable. I think they just launched a mobile version of it last week. So when you're on the road, you should be able to now access it on your mobile phone. As you can tell, they still have some things they call beta there. And I think it's not just on our screen. I think you can all see this up at the top. It says beta with the little camera click and then beta with a little text format. That allows you to see the agenda and the run of show for tonight. So you can always reference that back. So they're continuing to add functionality as we go through this. And so let me see if I can find the presentation here again, and I'll share that with you. So we just wrapped up on the networking section. We're now going to do some community events and resources discussion real quick, and some other announcements, and then we'll get right to the keg-side chat with Allen and Todd. And then, like I said, Todd, if you're listening, make sure you end by 6:28 so I can do a minute of wrap-up, because remote shuts us down at 6:30. So I always mention this every time we do a public house. One of the programs that Jasmine runs for us as a community manager is this fellowship program. So it's all new entrepreneurs who want to be part of the community. You have to do a simple application to apply and an interview. But the idea, we give you a space in a community to be part of with no charge. We fund it. We fund your space. We help connect you with mentors. We help connect you with resources and events, and continuing to add value to that program over time. A number of our fellows and alumni of the fellowship program are on the platform on the remote call tonight. It's a program we really do like, and would encourage you, one, to know about it, and two, tell people about it. We want this to be more known in the community and the opportunity for people to spread the word on it. So please do that. The other thing we do is founder office hours. So there are a couple people here on the public house tonight too that do office hours for us, and that can be found on the Packard website. And maybe Jasmine, you can put in the chat if you haven't already the link to both the fellowship program and the founder office hours. And the office hours are successful entrepreneurs and people who are giving back into the community. So anyone can sign up for them. I do it as well, so I do office hours every week. And it's a great array of people with a wide amount of skill sets that are just looking to give back, have a degree of success, maybe even an exit, and are trying to help younger and newer entrepreneurs be successful in what they do. And I want to emphasize this. We always emphasize this at Packard Place at all of our events. When it comes around election times, we are a non-political organization, but I really encourage everyone to go vote. And these are the deadlines for registering to vote in North Carolina. And then, of course, with COVID this year, they've expanded and created some new locations for early voting, like the Spectrum Center, and I think even Bank of America Stadium. So things have changed this election cycle. So please take time to be aware of it earlier, because if you miss the deadline to register, you'll be in trouble. And if you do plan on voting by mail, which is what I plan to do, I've already sent in my request for my ballot to the registrar, and I'm on the list of the ballot mailed out. So jump on that and get ahead of that if you can. It's important that everyone exercise the right to vote, especially as entrepreneurs, understanding politicians who get issues related to funding and startup, and having people in elected office who understand our community and support our community. I'll give a shout out to Patrick McHenry. He's a congressman from the Lake Norman area, actually wrote a Jobs Act, the crowdfunding bill. So the crowdfunding in America, as we know it, was written by a congressman who's 40 minutes from downtown Charlotte. So those are the types of people that I think can help us move our entrepreneurial community forward. And then Charlotte announcements. Let me see if Juan is actually on here. And normally Juan, I don't think Juan is with us tonight because he's not popping up. So a couple of announcements we will put in the chat. We'll skip that section then, but a couple of announcements that we do each week, and we'll put those announcements just in the chat. I think Dean has one, a PayCLT event on fraud, so I think you already put in the chat, but you can do that again. And then we have a RevTech Labs and SureTech event next week. tomorrow, which we would like you all to come join. If you have any interest in InsurTech and what's going on there, and if you're not in the insurance space, it's a great opportunity to kind of come in and listen to some of the conversation going on. And as you know, at RevTech Labs, we've moved from just being in fintech more broadly into insurance or InsurTech, and also into health tech. So that's been great. Let me go back to my slides here. And then kind of the main event. I think Todd, I know Alan is already there. And Todd, if you want to turn your camera on, you should be able to do that, or Jasmine can make you a presenter and come back up on that. And then we'll have, there comes Todd's too. So I'll do a quick introduction to Todd, and then I'll turn it over to you, Todd, to introduce Alan and take it from there. And I'll stop screen sharing so you two become larger on the screen. But Todd's been a great supporter of the entrepreneurial community just in general. One of the founders of Dualboot Partners that I think everyone in Charlotte maybe knows Todd. I call him the most well-networked person in the Charlotte region. And now he's broadening beyond Charlotte, so everyone in the country will know him. But a great guy, really good supporter of what we've been doing here in the public houses. So Todd, thank you for moderating tonight and helping find a really engaging speaker for us. I will turn it over to you, and remember, end by 6:28.
6:28, I got it. And my forehead is a lot shorter than it is in that picture, so I appreciate that piece. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate everyone joining tonight. How this story begins, about 4 or 5 months ago, I called one of my friends, Wendy Chapman, down in Florida, and I said, I need to meet the Dan Roselli of the Tampa area. And lo and behold, I met Mr. Allen. I'm really excited to share with you guys today, Alan. I thought it would be an opportunity, since we're doing these things remotely, to introduce people outside the Charlotte community that are doing amazing things. So I'll let him give his background, but the coolest thing is he is on a mission to get 10,000 people to become quitters. And I'll let him explain what that means. So Alan, with that, it is your floor.
Well, okay, great. Hey, thanks everybody, and thanks for inviting me and welcoming me into Charlotte. I'm down in Tampa, St. Petersburg. I'm actually in St. Petersburg right now, downtown St. Petersburg. And for those of you who don't know, we're kind of sister twin cities, Tampa and St. Pete, just separated by a bridge. St. Pete is kind of the cool, artsy city, and Tampa is kind of the corporate business city. And most of us go between the two. And tonight, I wanted to be in St. Petersburg. Partially because they have this really amazing co-working space here called the Station House, which is in my backdrop. And it's an old building that was converted into a co-working space. And I haven't been to Packard Place yet, but I was imagining it might be something like this. And I thought it was fitting that I would come down here. And
you probably have a better landlord down there, though, the Packard Place.
Yeah, I have. Yes, probably so.
Don't make me come back to this conversation, Buelow.
Yeah. But I do come down here and work a lot. I actually am a member of both the other version of this in Tampa. But no, I'm excited to be here, and thank you for having me. As far as my background, the whole 10,000 quitters thing. First of all, that's a shock headline, right? That's just a shock headline to get people's attention. What you're going to find out on this talk tonight is that quitting a job to be an entrepreneur is one of the most dangerous, risky things that you can do, and we highly don't necessarily recommend it. Actually, we might try to talk you out of it first, and if you still want to do it, you might have what it takes, right? Yeah, being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest things that anybody can do. When I wrote this book, I wrote it to that title to grab people's attention, but it's really a book about slowing down and making sure that you have a good plan and you have the right information, and that you know what you don't know. And so many entrepreneurs make the leap without doing their homework and without doing the things they need to do it properly. And so that's what it's about. But if you still want to do it, if it's still calling your name and you have to make your leap one day, this would definitely be the book for you. My background briefly, I teach a course in entrepreneurship at University of South Florida, which is a top 10 ranked entrepreneurship program, by the way, ranked by Princeton Review every year. And I have class at 6:30, so Dan, there's no chance that we go late because Todd promised to get me out in time to kick off my class. It's 55 students. It's the intro to entrepreneurship for undergrad seniors. I'm also a co-founder of the Tampa Bay Wave, which is the largest startup accelerator in Tampa, really probably in Florida. We're 12 years old. We were one of the first, maybe in the country early on, and we've helped over 300 companies in really the last 7 years. Since we became an accelerator, we started as a meetup of tech founders, and I was one of those 10 or 15 people in 2008, which is also where I launched my last startup that I like to, one of the fun ones I like to talk about at TechCrunch in 2008. What else? So I've been helping and working with entrepreneurs and founders with the Wave now for on and off for the last 12 years, well, especially for the last 3 to 5 years. As an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur in residence, and I currently head up investor relations there part-time. So
Al, let me ask you a question. What got you motivated to get, I mean, as you said, it's a headliner, 10,000 people to quit, but you and I were talking before this, and often I'm in the same position when people come with startup ideas to me. I'm trying to talk you out of it before you go into it. And so it's things like that I've been through. It's like, okay, if you're ready to do something for 10 years, ready, set, go. And they look at me like I'm crazy. No, I want to do this for 3 years and sell. Average cycle is 10 years. So, or, if you're married, does your wife or husband support you, what you're doing? If they're not on board, then if they're ready for you to do emails during vacations and phone calls, and if they're not, then maybe there's
time to get a new husband.
Yes, exactly. So so tell me let's kind of give us the process of, if I came to you today and said, Alan, I'm ready to quit, what would you say to me?
I would say, tap the brakes, big fella, right? That's what I would probably say. Yeah.
I'm a little sensitive to that with COVID right now with the word big fella. But okay.
Tap the brakes, right? Here's the thing. There's really kind of, two types of entrepreneurs a little bit here, right? There's the ones that it's their destiny. It calls their name always. They know that they really are fundamentally miserable working for others. They want to pursue the creativity that they feel like they're called to do. They get through year after year in a job, but they know that it's just not sustainable for them. They're just unhappy, right? And it's not necessarily the company they work for, or their boss, and sometimes it can be, but it's deep. It's deeper than that. And I would say if that's you, and if that definitely has been me and who I am, and then you have to answer that call. And I would say to that person, once I understood that that's who I was dealing with, I'd say let's make a plan and let's work on that. And I want you to know what you don't know, because what really inspired me to write this book really was just working with so many founders in the last 5+ years. All of the ones I work with have already made the leap. They're already out starting. You can't even get in the Wave unless you've already quit your job and you've got a prototype or an MVP and you're already out there, right? And what I learned is there's so many things that we learn once we've made it. There's so many things we learn out there as an entrepreneur that that you don't know back when you had your job, and it's just a shame. And most of it is existential. It's critical stuff that you really. And so my mission is to take all that knowledge out there in the startup world and startup game, everything from minimal viable products to runways to total addressable market and CACs and TAMs, and bring all that information upstream to people that are aspiring entrepreneurs, right? So they can become more informed and have better information and better plans and can step out and do it right. And it really increased their chances of success, but not just success, but also increase their chance of having a chance at some happiness and some balance, right? Because once you make that leap, if you have a bad plan, you not only do you kind of have to deal with the risk equation, but you have to kind of run for your life, right? You have to run for your life. It's tough enough as it is. Why not get informed and have a good plan?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting on the entrepreneurial side is, and people like, I'll be at events and someone that's working at Bank of America here in Charlotte, they might be in their mid-40s, they're making a very good salary, and they say, hey, how do I become an entrepreneur? And I said, well, are you ready to make $60,000, $50,000? And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I said, well, those are the types of sacrifices you're going to have to make. But how do you talk to someone financially? Like, how do I know financially when it's time to cut the cord and go? Here in Charlotte, I'll give you a good example. It's pretty hard here in Charlotte to get money unless you're friends and family.
Yeah.
Now, once you've proven your product market fit, there's plenty of options to do. So how do I balance that financial decision? Do I have enough money to get to figure out if I have product market fit? Like,
right.
How do I make that decision?
Yeah. So back to the money thing, right on the surface, right. I mean, I've done this 3 or 4 times, and I've done it really bad, and I've done it pretty good, right? And that's another reason why I wanted to write this book, was to say I can speak to the bad ways to quit to start, and then there's good ways to quit to start. I used to be in a place where as soon as I had, all I needed was about $5,000 in the bank, and I was ready to jump, right? That's all I needed, because that's just how edge of the knife I was at all times, wanting to do something, right? That's not enough money, obviously, to do much of anything. That's a month's runway for most people, something like that, right?
You must not have too many kids. My kids are 5,000 a week with my kids.
I know. This is me back in my 30s and my late 20s and 30s, right? And so that's ridiculous, right? And by the way, circumstances throw people into entrepreneurship even more broke than that, right? So you don't necessarily, 5's not enough, but people do it with 0. So, but generally, as a rule of thumb, if we're going to do this right, if you're going to do this right, 3 to 6 months in the bank is minimum, right? Minimum, right? You really want to be shooting for a year. You want to be shooting for at least a year of your living wage in the bank to really make a move. 3 to 6 would be minimum months. That is, if I were like coaching and working with somebody, that's what I would push for. But the problem is, I'm talking about my book, and there's triggers. I've got a chapter called Beware of Triggers. If you're really frustrated on the edge, whether it's your boss, your company, or maybe you're just falling in love with the new concept, you just can't do it anymore. You can have these emotional triggers, and and as soon as you get like 2 months in the bank, maybe 3, you get triggered and you're out the door. I know this because I did it.
Yep.
This is what I do. I do things like that. I still do things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the other things that's interesting is, as you're coming up with your idea, what are your thoughts? I can tell you my thoughts about who do you tell your idea to get you to get true feedback. And I'll give you a good example. My wife was on a call with someone today that my wife's also an entrepreneur, and someone called her up that she didn't know, and she gave feedback, and the guy said, "That is the most brutally honest feedback I've ever received." And my wife was like devastated. She's like, "I just crushed this person's opinion." But I think you truly did enjoy that versus, giving the feedback from your mom or dad. So what is your thoughts? If I'm ready to start, I feel I'm ready to start, who do I run my idea about to kind of get feedback on?
I'm going to give you an honest, controversial, unconventional answer. And it's this. Almost every entrepreneur I know, and successful ones for sure, we're the worst at really taking feedback from people. We already have in our minds what we know we want to create, what we know needs to happen. We're hopeless, right? We're hopeless that way. We people take feedback. It feels like criticism. You get defensive. You question the source. They don't really get it. It's just so impossible, in my opinion. So the only real feedback that really matters and that you should care about, and even entrepreneurs can handle this and actually take it on board, is actual people that would actually buy, your target customer, your target user, somebody you don't know, that is literally somebody that is the profile for who would buy or use your product, and you don't know them, and you're trying to get them to buy it or use it, and they're a stranger, and you're not asking for their opinion. You're actually asking a very simple question. It's, would you buy this? Hypothetically, let's say it's not created yet completely. Would you buy this or would you use this? And I'm going to describe it to you. So I'm going to describe this thing to you, and you're the target. Because don't just tell it. Friends and family don't really count, right? You're just always going to question the source. Or do they have context? Are they really your target profile? The people that aren't your profile customer or your user, in my opinion, it's a red herring. It's in fact, it can be some. I did a podcast interview recently. I have a podcast with Plan Your Start. You guys can find it at planyoursstart.com/podcast. And one of our most successful tech founders in Tampa Bay, Stephen Fisk, the whole title of the podcast, 1 hour conversation, is called what to leave in and what to let in and what to leave out. Opinions are insane for an entrepreneur, throws you way off track if you let it. So really, it's so simple to stay focused on getting it in front of a true potential buyer or user that is a stranger or quasi-stranger. And if it doesn't exist, describe it in hypothetical, ask them, would they use something like that? How much would they pay for it? And then any concerns that are in their mind, right? That is the real stuff. And I've never met an entrepreneur that wouldn't take that on board because they know that person has no reason to taint or be skewed. They're literally telling you, I would use it or I wouldn't use it. And this is how much I would pay for it or I wouldn't pay for it. And that's usually honest and real. If you have a prototype, obviously, even better if you can put it in their hands. But I hope that answers your question.
No, I think it's the question I asked many times for most products when people come to me. I said, have you sold this to 10 people yet? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, I don't have a product yet. I said, you should be able to sell this to 10 people right now.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's a lot of times that's how I can figure out who's truly ready to quit. And honestly, sometimes they can sell it, but it's a bad idea. But so you know that this person has something in them, and they might just be going down the wrong road right now. But it's like you just see it. They've got the passion to make a change. The other thing I think I would want to talk about is as life happens. So my wife's, I think many people know, we have a company called Bella Tuno. We started this company when my brother-in-law passed away. And we didn't even, it happens to be baby products, but what we started it was because of a purpose. We wanted people to remember Matt Tuno, not the drug addict, but Matt Tuno, the person. And we needed to find a way to raise money to finish a research project he was doing.
Yeah.
Talk me into life events or that you're seeing that happen with people that are ready to quit. Is a life event like that happens, or is it, hey, my boss is an a-hole and I just can't handle this anymore and I'm ready to move?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I think what your wife has done is incredible. I've been following your company ever since you and I met. I've been following Bella Tuna and Tuno, and also just the products. And of course, she's a mark for me on my podcast soon, as I've told you. But I'll be very honest with you. I don't know a lot. I don't know many people that have made the big leap on just a cause. I know plenty of people care about causes and do big things, but I think your wife is very, very special and unique to do that.
Very unique.
No, I think
she makes her very unique.
Okay, right. But here's the thing. Let's be real. She had the cause. Now, she didn't quit she didn't quit her job per se for the cause. She waited till she had a legitimate business, roundly speaking, right? So ultimately, we're still talking about someone quitting a job with a real business. Yep. Okay, even in the case of Bella Tuna, right? So I think that it's great when there's a cause behind it. And it could be a social cause like that, or it could be, it's always, by the way, the best startups or the best companies have a root, kind of an emotional driver back there somewhere. Yours and your wife happen to be extra strong and loud, but really all the great companies have something back there. Either they're a big problem they're trying to solve, which is really a good one, but there's also something that, because here's why, when you build a startup, you're having to rally, you're having to pull employees, and you're having to build a team that has to work for half what they normally would make, and they have to be energized by what you do. And it's usually not necessarily the product. They're energized by the founder, the mission, and what they stand for, the founders, plural, even in some cases. And also customers. Your first customers don't buy from you because your product is the best. Typically, your first customers buy from you because they buy into your story. They buy into the mission and the spirit of the company and what it stands for. So, and I would tell you, if your wife was here, she would probably tell you that was very true. And of course, you were there. You were there too, Todd. You could tell us. You could tell us. Those early customers and those early people, early supporters. That cause was critical. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you. This will be Todd's marital advice. Like, hopefully in 5 years it still holds true. But one of the things that we always did was we lived on one salary, even before her brother passed away.
Yeah.
So when her brother passed away, which it gave us the opportunity to start something. So we were able to live on my salary, but it allowed her to do something. So it was like I was a fun for her. For anyone in entrepreneur that's thinking about doing it, I would strongly urge you, if you can ever get to that point of living on, one person's salary, it makes the transition a lot easier on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But so tell me, so I'm going in. I'm ready to quit. Do I do it alone? Do I do it alone? Do I bring a friend on down this roller coaster of a journey? Well, what's the pros and cons? Do I just go to services and make money right away? Like, help me.
I know you told me not to do this, but I'm going to see if this works. I wanted to see if anybody, wanted to share a screen. I have a little diagram.
Yeah, I was going to try it, but I'm.
How about that? Can you guys see that?
Yeah,
can you see it?
I can see it.
All right, cool. All right, well, Todd. So you're like, oh man, he did it. Well, this is in my book. This is the what I call the quit zone, and it's where capability meets opportunity, fueled by frustration or a big idea. So it's capability meets opportunity, fueled by frustration or a big idea, and that's where those things have to intersect. And we start with capability and opportunity, right? You have to have the capability, which is not only the skill, by the way. It's skill, it's connections, it's confidence. It's just all the things necessary that your ability. Your whole ability to be able to do the thing that you want to do, but without opportunity, you have to stay put, right? Because opportunity usually means a first customer, or sometimes an investor, or some kind of an opening, right? It even could be an opportunity. Could even be that there's layoffs in your company, and you know that you're next. That's an opportunity, right? So those things have to come together, but it's still usually not quite enough. If there's no frustration, or if the idea is not big enough, if the idea is small, or if there's no frustration, you a lot of times won't make a move, right?
Yep.
So these things move in together, and we help people like determine, are they in the quit zone? And by the way, if you're in the quit zone, that doesn't mean you should quit. It means that I like to say conditions are good for flying, right? Like the conditions are good, and you still have a lot of work to do to decide if and when you were to make that move.
So how I'm quitting, I'm going to these events like Packard Place. And what one thing I've noticed, and we talked about this a little earlier, but it seems like the people that give the most information or advice are the people I shouldn't be getting advice from. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. A lot of times I'm getting advice from entrepreneurs, and then I dig into it. I was like, wait, you haven't even quit your job, and you're telling me how to run a company. Or and better examples, I'm trying to raise money from VCs or private equity firms, and a lot of times they're not even full time in these VC or private equity firms. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, or angel funds funds are notorious for that, right? You've got 100 different opinions. How do I figure out and navigate this world of everyone wants their opinion, but no one wants to cut the cord?
Well, you kind of said it easily there. Advice. I'm not a fan. Okay, I'm not a fan of. That's what I do, by the way. I think I'm somewhat of an expert at this, just having been so close to one of the biggest startup accelerators in the Southeast, and we have a mentor network of over 100. We have a little over 100 registered mentors, like certified, vetted mentors in our network, and our investor network is pushing 250 accredited investors. We do tons of events. We've always got close to 50 to 70 companies at any given time, and I struggle with it. I'm not advice is just kind of worth what it's, kind of what you, I guess what you could say, what you pay for it. I do. There's nothing to me, nothing is more powerful than the imagination, and the creativity of a true entrepreneur that is solving a true problem, and they are so on the button with it, and then they need to immediately try to refine the solution to that problem and get those prospective users and prospective customers engaged. And there's some advice that can go along with that, but it's really a fairly simple model. And I find that quote unquote advice can be as more distractionary and sometimes destructive than even constructive. You have to be real careful.
So tell me about the process of, I'll say, scaling as an entrepreneur, and what I mean by that, I remember when we started Bellatuno, my sister, who's an accountant, which I no offense to any accountants or lawyers in this room, they're usually the worst people to try to start a business because they'll give you every reason why not to. Well, she's like, you can't start this company until you've got a business plan, you've got an employee handbook, so how, so we were scared to death before we started. But as I've gotten older, I actually realized a lot of times, like even with marketing, I'll pay people to do the marketing instead of like, where do I focus my time, I guess? Is it sales and marketing?
Yeah.
Is it the product? Is it something else? Where should I be focusing when I first start? Where do I start focusing my time to get out of the blocks?
Yeah. It does definitely depend on the kind of business you're starting, whether it's a services company or a product company, right? All of those things, and how much time and money is needed. Whether you're going to just be a freelancer, or you're going to actually create a product, or if you're going to open a storefront. I don't know. So there's so many different ways to attack that. But in terms of what someone might do first, right? The main rule of thumb, right, is to go back to, I hate to keep harping on this, but this idea of prospective customers and users, but also other business owners. The other thing I try to guide people towards. So if you want to open your own yoga studio, for example, my challenge to you is to go talk to 5 yoga studio owners, right, and try to understand what they're doing, because it all sounds romantic and sounds so wonderful and romantic to own your own yoga studio, like owning your own restaurant, or owning whatever, or even owning your own freelancer business, graphic designer, talk, like, it's so romantic. There's so much success bias and romanticism in entrepreneurship, right, that so the first things you need to be doing is talking to other people that are actually doing it or have done it, because that's raw, real stuff. And then talking to those prospective customers and users about pricing, availability, all those things, right? Doing a reconnaissance on that is so important.
Yeah, I learned a valuable lesson the first company we helped start. We focused so much on the product. We had the best product ever. And but no one was ever buying it because no one knew who we were. And I didn't realize that until we sold the company, and I got to see our competition. And I said, how do we ever lose to those people? Like, our product was so much better. And it was eye-opening to me. And I tell a lot of entrepreneurs this, you got to get the product out, but then you got to flip your sales and marketing hat. Even if you don't want to do it, go hire someone. Sales and marketing is the thing that feeds the animal.
Absolutely. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I made with one of my startups. Like, I spent way too long on the product and was perfecting it, because I am a perfectionist. I am OCD, like most entrepreneurs, and really basically burned all the valuable resources I needed on the product. And really sales, it really was about marketing, PR, sales and marketing, getting the word out there. That's again, back to what we do with Plan Your Startup. What I'm all about with the book and everything I'm doing is to get these basic things like we're talking about right now. Most people watching this right now in the room are probably entrepreneurs for the most part. They like this is good reinforcement, but so many people that are just in their cubicle jobs, doing their jobs, just working their 40, 50, 60. They find this stuff out the hard way, right? Which is why we talk about it, because we've all made that mistake of and you don't get a lot of shots, you don't get a lot of at bats. So it's a real shame when you blow it on building the product, and a lot of times you barely finish that, and then you find you got no sales and marketing, you got no awareness. Some of the greatest products, apps, were died. There's a graveyard. There's a graveyard somewhere of amazing products. Software, apps, and physical products. It's an amazing graveyard. You should go there. It's just incredible.
I think I played. What was it? The Microsoft Zune? Was that their?
Yeah, Zune. Yeah,
that was a great product. They just Apple just cleaned them up. All right, so I've read your book. I decide that you've scared me out of quitting, but I love the idea of being an entrepreneur. I actually love my job. What is there anything I can do in the culture of my existing company to make it feel like I'm an entrepreneur, or do I have to go outside to get that experience?
Well, yeah, I think there's not a lot you can do from the bottom up, right? You can, but if the culture is not receptive, I don't know that I would recommend you burning your time, because if you're banging your head against the wall, I would almost suggest that you go, if the culture isn't conducive to entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset, which is a whole other topic, by the way, that I speak on, which is how can companies keep their best and brightest, right? I wrote the book on quitting, but the key is like we don't, and this is the point I wanted to make. most entrepreneurs I know, including yours truly, didn't really want to quit. I didn't really set out to put myself at risk and my family at risk and everything at risk. There are like there's a 5% or 2% entrepreneur that lives for that, right? I, like so many other entrepreneurs, was more working out of frustration, coming off of frustration with the existing companies that I was working in, right? Isn't that a shame, right? And so companies really, if they understood this better, which is another thing that I like to do with corporate kind of the boardroom, the management team, is to talk about the entrepreneurial mindset and the people in your company, your best and brightest that are on their way out the door, and you're going to be the last to know. They're extremely frustrated, unhappy, but guess what? They're really good at hiding it. You won't know it. You'll be the last to know, and it'll be the biggest surprise when Rachel, who leads marketing, is leaving. Either she's leaving for another job or she's leaving to be an entrepreneur. It's so sad, right? Because you just didn't see the cues, and you didn't set up your company to be conducive to the entrepreneurial mindset.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're buttoning up on the end. So a couple things. Everyone should be able to download the book, but you also
it's a view. It's actually a view. It's not downloadable. You can view it on your phone, and you can view it on your computer, on your phone. It's password protected. But will
you actually read it to me at night? Is there an audio version of Sleepy Time Bed Stories with Allen?
Todd, I get out of my class at 9:15. You call me tonight at 10:30. I will read you my book.
This is getting a little strange, but it's and then they can find more information for you on your website. I saw Sarah, who we've got a St. Pete Sarah in the house,
Yes, and you've also yes, and you also Angie Merget is out there. She's a good friend of mine, and there might be a few other friends of mine out there. I just saw Angie, I saw Sarah.
All right. Well, here's we want to welcome you up. Come up to Charlotte. We've got a gentleman named Ernest that every Packard place actually cooks. Today he's having cheeseburgers, so he'll make you the meal. Dan's got the beer.
Oh, guys, you're speaking my language, and vice versa. Like, I was born in Savannah, Georgia, not, it's at like halfway. I don't know. I love it. Atlanta, I love Charlotte. I love Charlotte. And I know you guys you love Tampa Bay. When I say Tampa Bay, Tampa or St. Petersburg. And we have a lot in common. I feel like we're about the same size, Tampa and Charlotte, and really friendly people helping each other. People don't realize Tampa is by far the friendliest city in Florida. Okay. I mean, South Florida is its own place, Northeast, like Tampa, trust me. I know a lot about Charlotte, some really, really friendly people. It's got that Southern sensibilities with lots of cool. Tampa Bay, we like to say it has that Midwestern sensibility. Like, how friendly the Midwestern people. So they come down I-75, and this is where a lot of people out of the Midwest.
Even Tom Brady realized no one should live up in the North, right? So.
Exactly. We got Tom Brady.
You got Tom Brady. You got the Lightning, who are strong in the Final Four right now, I think.
That's right.
Got to get Kucherov back.
And the most beautiful beaches you could ever find. By the way, I know we didn't have time for questions. I love doing questions, and unfortunately, you're going to let me go for the to get to my class. And this has been an honor, and I really wish I could be seeing more people. I wish I could see more faces. I wish I had time for Q&A. I would love to come back and do this again. Todd, I'm going to reciprocate and have you be a guest at something down here. I love this product, Remo. I can't wait to use this. This has been really, to me, it's really been a cool night to see this in action.
Well, thank you, Dan. I think we're ready for you to jump on. Allen, go teach those 55 kids social distancing, mask.
I think he should bring us all to the class, right? Just take your camera on. We'll just
absolutely. But Florida, you guys are screwing it up down there with this COVID crap. So put your mask on, and well, unfortunately, North Carolina is screwing it up too. So don't take any lessons from either one of us. So.
Well, Todd and Allen, thank you guys. Todd, thank you for moderating. Thank you for helping find Allen and facilitating the conversation. Allen, it was a real pleasure. Enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing the book with us too. And we will have to have you back sometime, and love the fact of finding kindred spirits in other cities across America. So
can't wait. And I love beer, man. And the fact that there's beer taps.
It's just beer sitting right here. It's so close. It's
incredible. You guys have a good night. Thank you for
Jasmine, if you could, you guys can turn your cameras off if you want. Jasmine, if you want to go ahead and put in the link in the chat, the survey, the post-event survey. We'd love to get your feedback. It's always good to be able to do that and hear what y'all think about that. And I think she'll hopefully be able to throw that in the chat here in just a second. And then we'll kind of end on time again at 6:30. There we go for the chat. So click on that link so you can get the survey open before we shut off the meeting. But really thanks to everyone for being here. Again, we do this on the first and third Wednesday of the month. Bring friends, tell people about it. If this is your first time, come back, bring some other people with you. We really love to have a nice crowd, and it makes the networking more fun when we can do all that. So until we see each other again on the next Public House, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon. Take care.